Hello, baseball fans, and welcome back to another video. If you are watching this, then you're either celebrating or you are banging your head against the wall, depending on what fan you are. If you're a Cubs fan, you are ringing the bell right now as they are headed off to face the Milwaukee Brewers. But if you're a Padres fan, you have thrown up your hands, and this is it. It is over as this game went, I think better expected than expected for the Cubs as we ended with 1-3 today. And Brandon and I are here to give our recap as always. Brandon, what did you think of the game today? I know you have some major thoughts here after game three of the wild card.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, credit to Jamison Tyone. I've been on him. Since the Cubs have signed him. I was not, I've never been the biggest fan of him, but he was absolute nails today. That kick change, was really, really, really working. He had the Padres hitter's number. It was very impressive start, especially, obviously given that Cade Horton was going to take this start up until a few weeks ago when he got hurt. So, I mean, a lot of credit to Tyone. He really, earned his contract today with that performance. Overall, I mean, this was a game that was won by the Cubs defense, and it was also lost by the Padres bullpen management earlier in the series. You know, Mason Miller is probably the best reliever in baseball right now, and he wasn't available for this game because the Padres used him up in the first two games of the series. I mean, Robert Suarez, Mike Schilt tried to throw him out there for a third inning. Michael Busch hit a home run off him. It's just, I mean, the Padres bullpen is elite. But, I think the Padres relied on it too much. Dylan Cease was dominating in game two, and they took him out early to get to that bullpen early. That workload adds up even in a short series. And, so I mean, just clearly the Cubs benefited from getting the starters out early from, obviously Yu Darvish only made it through an inning today. He really didn't have his best stuff. So, I mean, it's just, it's a credit to the Cubs for, even though obviously they couldn't hit the Padres bullpen in the first few games of the series, then they got to it. They made them work. They made those guys throw pitches and innings, and then come today, the Padres weren't able to give them their best, and barely, a ninth inning that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in a second, but the Cubs barely squeezed this one out.
Yeah, it was a really close game when you look at the details of it. I mean, what I'll also say is we were really worried yesterday about the performance of Jamison Tyone versus Yu Darvish overall as players. At the end of the day, if you look at overall at bats and hits between the two players, not only between Yu Darvish and Jamison Tyone, but the overall bullpen of both teams, the Cubs swept them in overall hits. Let's talk about hits for a second. The Cubs
Mhm.
got 13 hits off of the Padres. That is incredible considering the past 2 days of these wild cards, considering how low these numbers have been. I think the Padres only got like 7 or 8 hits
Yeah.
off of the Cubs bullpen. And again, considering how worried we were after Shota Imanaga's performance yesterday, this is a complete turnaround for the Cubs. Again, for the Padres, there's not much to say considering they're out of contention at this point in the race. But again, they fought the good fight, and I think that these past 2 days, up until their loss today, were really good plays. Again, I think now the Cubs really have to worry about going up against the Brewers, which is a completely different story, which we will cover in another video on our Northside Baseball site. But again, something that we can really talk about today too is again that ninth inning, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Cubs fan, you know that the Cubs have a history of blowing games in the postseason late. The eighth inning has been sort of their white whale. Obviously, this time it was the ninth inning, but Craig Counsell got greedy. He tried to throw Brad Keller out there for a second inning. He immediately gave up a home run to Jackson Merrill. And then he got a really, really, really lucky strike out of Xander Bogaerts. That if you're a Padres fan, you have every right to be upset about that call. That was a clear walk that could have set up potentially bases loaded with no outs. Because obviously the Cubs hit the next two batters. But at the same time, yes, the Padres definitely got hosed in that ninth inning, but the Padres also only scored what was it, 5 runs this entire series. I mean, if you're scoring 5 runs in a wild card series, no matter how good your pitching is, no matter how good your bullpen is, you're probably not going to win. It's just, I mean, the Padres offense has been a question mark all year long. We saw it rear its ugly head for most of this series. I mean, really, I mean, you think about it, in the 27 innings that the Padres came up to bat, they had one important swing, and that was the Manny Machado home run. Like, other than that, I mean, like really, there was not a lot of impactful offense from San Diego's side. I mean, it's just, again, that's something that they're going to have to address over the offseason, of course. They're in a weird spot because they might need to cut payroll, and they have a lot of veterans. Dylan Cease is going to be a free agent. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Michael King as well. I mean, there's a lot going on there. But from the Cubs' perspective, this was a game won by defense. Dansby Swanson was unbelievable all series long on defense. Nico Horner made a number of plays. The outfield was excellent. I mean, this was a really, really, really sterling display by what is probably the strongest unit on the Cubs, and something that Jed Hoyer's taken a lot of pride in building. So, I mean, again, obviously the Cubs are going to go up against the Brewers now. The Brewers are as fundamentally sound as any team in baseball. Their defense is also excellent. Their base running, their clutch hitting, it's all great. So that'll obviously be a great series between two division rivals. But I think my main takeaway from this, other than obviously the Padres maybe getting a little hosed in that ninth inning, right now is just that the Padres have a lot of questions to answer this offseason. The offense was not as good as it should have been given the names, and they obviously have a lot of big guys on the pitching staff that are going to hit free agency. They might be entering a bit of a transition period.
Yeah, I think I'm always an optimist when it comes to baseball, and especially as many of our North Side baseball viewers might probably know at this point, I'm a Cubs fan when it comes to being a journalist, but I'm an Orioles fan at heart. But what I always say after being an Orioles fan, especially this season, is that at the end of the day, when you lose something as big as maybe the wild card series, or really any game after so many for the Orioles at least, it's a learning experience at the end of the day, and that's what the Padres have to take away from this season. Like you said, there's probably going to be a lot of moves coming in 2026, and that's what I think we have to look forward to as Padres fans. Again, the Cubs have a lot to look forward to
Yeah.
in this next week. But as a Padres fan, you have to think about the overall season, right? Many teams can't say that they even made it to the wild card round. So I think I want to be an optimist as always. Again, it sucks that you can't make it to the next round of the series, but look, at the end of the day, many teams are, kicking the ground saying, hey, we didn't even make it to the wild card round. So that's something to be optimistic about. There's optimism to say, look, we lost, but also there's probably going to be a lot of moves being made. And you might have players that you love that are going to probably leave the team. And you're going to have players that are going to probably join the team that you're like, hey, this is going to be a great addition. So there's learning moments for the Padres coming up. There's going to be a lot happening this coming in the next few days for the Cubs. And this is a historic time for the Cubs as well, as many of you guys know. But as always, this game was incredible. We'd love to hear your comments in the comments section below, and we'll be responding to every single one.